So the key ingredients for building a healthy community or new town are people, place and environment. And it's about connecting those elements together. Now in many cases there's a disconnect because you tend to build houses, not places or homes. So one of the things that you do with these ingredients is you do put them into a mixing bowl, but the important thing is they need to be mixed up by the governance framework so that you actually get joined up approaches that build the place. So you need to have an idea about the place, you need then to involve the people in the design of that place, and without those core components you'll get disconnected places. So in order to get the healthy component, this is where the environment comes in. So the environment comes in as a place that can deliver maybe opportunities for recreation, fresh air, but it also delivers a whole set of services that can actually improve people's health and well-being. And I think it's recognising that from the outset in the beginning of the design that you get these more effective places. We're at danger at the moment of building places where people just live and you haven't got those other ingredients that make things happen.
Any new development, the one thing it needs more than anything else, depending on whether it's 150 homes or 15,000 homes, it's got to have places for people to come together. They otherwise are all living alone, lonely, not well connected. So anything that you build from say 150 units up, you've got to have somewhere where people meet and socially interact, and they need this for their mental health. It's what makes them happy. We know that. It's such a fundamental thing. And one of the really intriguing things about where we're headed is if everyone's going to end up starting to work from home, then you're going to be under a lot of stress if isolated. You need to be able to get to a place where you meet people. That could be a gym, it used to be a pub, probably won't be going forward, it'll be something else. It could be one of those kind of co-working places where everybody goes and gets a coffee, but they get a chance to talk to somebody. You know, half these people are trying to hook up with somebody. They don't want to be on their own. And the rest of them, they want to talk to their friends. They want to see them more than once every 10 weeks when they get invited to a formal function. They want to talk to them every 2 or 3 days.
The key ingredients to having a healthy community in Newtown is, from my perspective as a town planner, is to ensure that there's a good, strong planning policy in place. So for Gateshead we have the local plan, the core strategy, which we developed in partnership with Newcastle, and for us that sets out our key aims and objectives of how we want to achieve a healthy community, and that's not only healthy, it's also about our community's well-being. So from our point of view, we engage quite early on with all our partners, key developers, landowners, our key statutory agencies, to try and ensure what all people thought and agreed what is a healthy community and what would be good for the well-being of our communities.
The key ingredients for achieving healthy buildings are strong leadership in the industry, working together collaboratively, making sure that the occupant and the user is always at the centre of the design process, and taking account of everything from air quality to thermal comfort, humidity and material selection during design and construction. Okay, so the biggest challenges in delivering healthy communities and buildings in the current system is pretty much that the current system, the planning system that makes the decisions and the policies, is not really that fit for purpose. We've had consistently governments trying to tweak the system to try and make it more effective. And what we're starting to see now is a push towards, say, delivering more houses, delivering economic growth. These objectives are pursued in silos. So what we effectively now need is an approach that tries to build much broader, more holistic ideas. And this is where placemaking comes into being. So placemaking is an idea that brings together the components of people, place and environment together. Now the current system is fragmented, and I've used the term disintegrated because what we tend to get are these silos all operating in splendid isolation and not connecting. And that means that the system will be providing perverse outcomes based on conflict, not based on consensus and cooperation. And in my view, the current system, because it's predicated on, say, targets that are building, say, 300,000 houses, it says nothing about building resilient communities. That's the priority. So you get the focus on the house building without thinking about the other components of the built and natural environment jigsaw. So I'd like that jigsaw to connect together.
The biggest challenge to a lot of what we know will make people live healthier and more fruitful lives is the fact that there are standards for things like highways and maintenance regimes that go with those that mitigate against a lot of the stuff that people would want to design into a street. Letchworth Garden Village could not be built in Northamptonshire in the year 2018. You couldn't get it. They wouldn't have the trees, they wouldn't allow you to have the different road widths, they wouldn't allow the hedges. However, we know that if you can find a place where they let those things happen, like London has a thing called Transport for London that owns the streets. They actually spend money on what they think is nice to have in the street. That could be benches like you get in parks, but they put them in the street so people can sit down, take their weight off their feet and talk to someone.
The biggest challenges we face in delivering healthy communities is from our perspective, is viability. Viability is a really big issue for us. Gateshead and the northeast of England is the most affordable region in the country. So when we are trying to develop new housing developments or more commercial developments, viability is a keen issue, because a lot of our developers are advising us that, albeit they wish to develop it and bring forward good quality development, their margins are so tight, and that's against the background of rising build construction costs. So one of the issues we have to do is prioritise and try and identify what are our key aims and aspirations from development. Slight criticism, a number of the models we see for healthy towns, etc., come from the southeast of England, where the margins are much greater, where developers can deliver good quality developments, where it's really difficult for the northeast of England. Allied to that is an issue around the revenue costs. One of the key issues we have is, if we're developing new towns, we want to make sure there's good quality open spaces, good quality sustainable urban drainage systems, but these have to be maintained, and often with budget cuts within councils, the councils are increasingly finding it really difficult to maintain these areas. So we have to come up with imaginative solutions that could include private management companies or using the voluntary sector to help support open spaces and the green infrastructure.
I think there are a couple of big challenges in delivering healthy buildings in the construction sector. One of them is strong leadership and working collaboratively with professionals outside of our usual silos. The other one is the definition of good design. Good design should be tangible. It should produce measurable health benefits, and if it doesn't, then it isn't good design. The construction sector has an obligation to embrace healthy building design. It's not a question of moral leadership as much as it's a question about good design, and good design is good business. We need to become thought leaders, and we need to make sure that we are becoming agents of change for the social good and to create buildings that are just better for people.
So a lot of people want to know what this term green infrastructure means, and it is a complex topic, because there's a lot of green space and a lot of open space out there, and people ask, is that green infrastructure? Well, yes, it can be, but the key differentiating characteristic of green infrastructure is that it is a planned network of green space. So effectively what you're doing is, whether at a county level, district level, city level, or even a street level, or within a particular master plan of a development, you are looking at how the different bits of green space all connect up together. And as soon as you start then thinking about that as a network of spaces, you're coming into green infrastructure. And what's crucial about this is, it is just like other critical infrastructure of the city, and it needs to be seen in that way. And therefore it's very important that that is planned with all the other grey and blue infrastructure that exists. And by the way, as a last point, we have this concept of green infrastructure. It's a little bit unhelpful, because a lot of green infrastructure is actually blue and can be brown. It's really living infrastructure, and therefore we've got to understand that this is more than just what's green. It's actually thinking about our rivers, our streams, lakes, and even our coastal zone. So the role that green infrastructure plays in building healthy communities is really, as I see it, as almost like a bridge that connects, if you like, the urban core to the wider green spaces and corridors that exist. And what's crucial is that that green infrastructure as a planned network will deliver what we call various ecosystem services. And that's a bit of jargon, but what effectively that is, it's the services or the environmental services delivered by nature, the kind of multiple benefits. So that will give us maybe improved air quality, it will give us maybe access to good quality recreational space, it will improve biodiversity. The important thing, it's not just about one thing, it's about the multiple benefits it delivers. And what we're increasingly finding is that green infrastructure will deliver those multiple benefits, but only if it's planned right from the start within a development. And all too often it's bolted on and kind of seen as an extra cost, where in fact it can actually save money, it can actually generate real good business opportunities and economic outcomes.